Hey, what's going on? This is Dominic here, and I wanted to welcome you onto this video, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I want to share with you, why 90% of marketers actually fail online and how you can be a part of the 10% that don't. Interestingly, like about 3 months back, I was in the United States, in fact in Nashville, Tennessee, and I met a gentleman by the name of Pat. Now, Pat was this ex-police officer. Actually, due to the nature of his work, there was a situation that occurred which he had to be in the hospital, and the doctor had declared that he shouldn't be going back into the workforce. So Pat had to find a different way to, now take care of his life and replace that income. So Pat ventured out onto the internet just like you and me, and went over Google, YouTube, try to find some different way where he can start a business. And in fact, he found a business that actually makes sense for him. So now Pat, he just got started with his business. And in the first 90 days, he started to take action. He started to do all the different things. And you know what? The result was under $200 in the first 3 months. Now, you can imagine how frustrating that can get. You can imagine how upsetting it can get for Pat and how depressed he would have been, because he looked into the mirror and he said, I'm working this 8 to 10 hours every single day, and all that I get is $200 in 3 months. I remember the time he was telling me that, I'm going to take this laptop, I'm going to throw it out onto the window. And he was that frustrated, and he felt like he was abandoned. And that's when, he wanted to cool himself off. He went off for a walk, and he had a cigarette, and that day was something that struck him. He asked himself a question at that time. He asked himself is that, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm depressed, but am I doing something that is actually I'm supposed to do that will make my work or make my business run? Can I do a reality check onto myself? And that's where, when he came back after cooling himself down, he put it down on a piece of paper, and then afterwards there were some few things that he was not doing. Okay, and then I asked him, Pat, what was that decision that you had taken in that period and that moment that literally turned your bank account from under $200 to over $10,000 every single month? And when he looked at me and he told me, Dominic, when I started to treat my business as a business and not a hobby, not a 9-to-5 job, I started to see the results and history was creating over here. And when I looked at him, I was like, tell me a little bit more about it. I'm quite curious about it. He's like, the general approach over a couple of people over the internet and everyone is normal. It's quite normal. Is that, let me try this. Let me see how it works. And if it does not, I quit. Well, what I did was, the education that I had in my business was the biggest asset, and I didn't utilize it to the fullest. So I began to start to utilize the education provided to me by my business in the form of products. And I started to apply that. I started to, every single day when I started to open up my laptop, I declared myself as a business owner. I declared myself as an entrepreneur. I declared myself, I self-talk to myself that, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to be financially involved, fully committed, spiritually fully committed, mentally fully committed, emotionally fully committed. Basically, I'm going to be all in my work. I'm going to if I'm going to find out what's working, what does not work, I'm going to change, I'm going to move, I'm going to test, I'm going to tweak, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And I'm not going to be half the way in by saying that, I'm going to try doing this, and if it does not work, it does not work. So my attitude towards how I see my business had changed, and that made real good sense to me. So, that actually sets apart the 10% from the 90%. So I hope this information is actually amazing, and I hope it added value and a sense of understanding of how, how you could be a part of the 10% by, actually doing what Pat had